Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and welcome to the ban list video. That's right, the ban list is out, and there's plenty to say about it. But I think we all can agree on one thing that needs to be said first. Mermail did nothing wrong. And that's why I'm going to talk a little bit about why I think Mermail is a very reasonable and fun and fair deck that everyone actually loves. We want our cards in the grave to use graveyards effects. That's why everyone loves Mooling Glacier, right? Hey, am I in? Am I on? Oh, thank God, that guy's boring as hell. Let's get on to something people really want to hear about, and that's the goddamn ban list itself, not whatever he wants to try and pretend is a valid argument in favor of Mermail, okay? Because yeah, fuck it. If Jerome McHale gets to do a little bit of a Max Headroom reference, I can do the same. I have the ability to do so. Why the F not? Okay? So let's get right into it. But unfortunately, this is a Max Headroom reference, which means I only have so much time. So we'll skip past some of the things that don't matter. Namely, the entirety of the unlimited list. Because we don't need to hear about things like what Cyberjar isn't going to do in the metagame. We already know. Nothing. Same thing can be applied to Monkey Board. What is Pendulum going to do things without Electromite? Methinks not, okay? So confident, I'll even use the term methinks. That's just how confident I truly am. Similarly, Ava's not going to do anything. Drytron hasn't been doing anything with one or two Avas, or however many it did or didn't have. Let's not pretend we care. How many Avas have they had previously? Doesn't matter. Can't make them good at 3, 1, 2, or none. Simply cannot even remotely comprehend the current Rizio Fiendsmith Malish format. Okay. Now with that out of the way, we can of course get onto the things that do matter. Things like the semi-limited list, which Konami apparently decided to capitalize on for the first time since like Necros of Brionac. Because that's the last time I even remotely remember them using the semi-limit list in regards to the current competitive game. So yeah, we've got some unhits up to 2, namely 2 baby Chaos Dragons back at 2. I don't think Dragon Link's doing anything fantastic with these, but now they can certainly try to. Similarly, Unchained Soul of Shavara. It's nice, but it's not game-breaking, so probably not going to be that important. More notable is the unlimit, or semi-limit, of Snake Eye Ash and Poplar, which is a fantastic choice by Konami. People have been crying for Electromite, MX Saber Invoker, things like the Party Boat from Wind Up format in 2012. Can't have that back though. No. But you know what you can have more of? This Snake Eye format you fucking hate. We're bringing those back to 2. Now it doesn't really matter because OSS is still banned, and spoiler alert, you already know the ban list. It's Bonfires at 1. You have less copies of Ash technically now than you did with it at 1. With 1 Bonfire and 2 Ash, then 3 Bonfire and 1 Ash. So that's something notable. But the things that truly matter, because Konami pulling that Konami level move of giving us the things we don't want in Snake Eyes has been followed with a very not Konami level move in the form of them giving us hits to Ryziel and Malice on the semi-limited list. That's right. X-Ryziel, Sword Ryziel, and Ice Ryziel, all now 2-ofs, alongside White Rabbit, Dormouse, and Malice in Underground. For Ryziel, that means a bit less consistency with searches and 1 less of that lovely starter in Ice. Similarly, Malice loses copies of names, which is pretty critical for the deck, and 1 less field spell to hard open, I guess. None of these are really killing these respective decks, they just make them slightly less good. And while you can absolutely add in things like Cynet Mining or 7th Tachyon to search out the cards to replace those that have been hit, or even Terraforming for the field spell, that means that these decks are, if nothing else, slightly more impacted by a copy of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Is that weapons grade copium, or just a solid thing to change in the format? You tell me. A lot of people love to tell me that this game sucks in general regardless of what happens, and the only thing that it can be said in regards to that was said by the original Manius himself. That's right, I just Max Headroomed my own Max Headroom. We are reaching levels of Inception so deep you'd think I was Christopher Nolan bringing the word Inception into the cultural vernacular. But I'm not, I'm just a dude standing in front of a green screen talking about Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's just that simple. That being said, you already know the ban list. You already know that alongside those hits to Ryzeal, they've also now only got one singular copy of Bonfire and even one detonator, in a move that's pretty solid. You can still win with just one detonator if we're being honest, but having two is nice, and it just means that detonator is slightly weaker to things like Bestials, which are now slightly weaker thanks to the limiting of Druis Worm. At least you can be less salty about that card not being reprinted in Stampede, I suppose, because it's like, what, like 20 to 30 bucks or something now? It's absurd. Anyways, the point is, Bestial Druis Worm is a pretty damn generic one. Pretty good to see it at one, all things considered, because Bestials are another thing that's just going to get better with time, and it's, you know, pretty generic, which is a word I use to segue into the next two cards because they're also pretty generic. Limits to Crossout Designator and Triple Tactics Talent. Crossout is either completely worthless or completely broken, depending on where it's being played and what the format's doing, so I can understand and even support the hit, although no longer getting to see cool moments like that. I think it was a YCS finals where a guy Crossout Designator summon limit. That was pretty cool. That was kind of hype. It's gonna be a bit of a shame seeing less of that, but also, if nothing else, do first turn hands in Yu-Gi-Oh! Need this much resistance to hand traps if people choose to play Crossout for hand traps? No. I don't care what your thoughts are on that. No. They just simply do not. And I used the word to, but broke it up with simply, so I didn't say doo-doo, which would have been poop. And then there's, of course, Talents. It's a card I'm almost surprised hasn't been hit prior. Getting a copy of Pot of Greed, a copy of Confiscation, or whichever one did the shuffle back into, you can't pay me to care about shit that was relevant in 2004, dude. Okay? Let me play my shit that was relevant in 2004 instead, like Halo 2. God, I'm a boomer. Anyways, Talents, it's a bit shocking because there's also Change of Heart effects that are on demand effectively, considering all that has to happen is your opponent has to use a monster hand trap in the main phase or use a monster effect from their board of shenanigans in the main phase, both of which are almost inevitable. Imperm's the one saving grace, but it's a pretty damn common thing, so it makes sense to see it go to 1. Also, just for some added copium, I now have 3 times as many playsets of Talent, and that has to be good for something, because god damn it, there's no way you're telling me I just wasted that much money on playsets of Talents that are no longer playsets, but playsets of playsets. That's deeply aggravating on some level. Not unlike it will be deeply aggravating when your ass gets one of Shiftered, because we needed a limit for Malice as well, and this is what they chose to go with. Almost certainly a beloved change. I don't know many people arguing we need more Shifter in it. Matter of fact, I've seen people preemptively calling out the people who called Shifter a necessary evil idiot, so you can decide for yourself how much you love or love to hate Shifter, but if you play Yu-Gi-Oh, 99% of you love to hate it, so it's nice to see, if nothing else. Now, that's the super best hit from the 2019 Megatins, and it's good to see it go. But that's not the only thing that has gone to 1, because there are 3 cards coming back to 1 on this list that were previously banned. Brilliant Fusion can now become a Garnet explanation tool, because it is the original source of the term Garnet. We can stop having to explain that to new people as confusingly if it comes back into the game, which it will not, because even though it's at 1, it's really only good in Brilliant Fusion-based decks, that being Gem Knight decks specifically. I don't see many people running 1-to-1 Brilliant Fusion and Garnet, because you know you will be seeing Garnet far more than Brilliant Fusion. If it comes back up to 3, then we can talk, but as for 1, nah. Not doing it. There's also Masterpiece, which is a card I have to reconcile the fact that is probably fine at 1. The floodgates are the bigger problem with True Draco decks. Those are the real reasons I hate True Draco decks, so I think if we bring Masterpiece to 1 and use this as a tool to ban or limit more floodgates, I think that's a pretty fair thing to have happen. I'm okay with that in the grandest scheme of the game. And then there's Mathmech Circular, a card that is adored and hated by just as many people, and it's really fine at 1. Mathmech is no longer going to break open the floodgates as it once did whenever it was last relevant. It's not really successful in POT format. It's not going to be in the post-POT format all that good at one. This is probably going to be used more in generic slibers. Slibers, that's a combination of cybers and slop. Slibers, because that's what it's going to be used in, is cyber slop. It's just a fact of the world that card is going to be used generically without having to use your normal summon to get some stupid monsters on board and deal with the shenanigans of fucking cybers link spam bullshit that's boring as hell to see. Somehow more boring than Synchron, really. That's the crazy part, is like they're both functionally identical. They're just wombo combo touch myself, you're not playing this game, kid type decks, but at least Synchron is using unique little Synchron tools, whereas like every Cybers deck is doing the same goddamn shit. And some Cybers player is going to come flying in here to tell me how wrong I am and tell me about the innate subtle intricacies of the Cybers deck that everyone knows and loves. But honest to God, shut the fuck up, I do have a gun. That's all that needs to be said in regards to your Cybers fucking bullshit. And then we've got the bannings. Nightmare Griffin going to none. 0 banned. Probably fine. I don't think it was really needed to be banned, but at the same time it didn't need to be in the game. It wasn't doing anything phenomenally broken. Like, it was seeing some amount of play in Malice, if I'm not mistaken, but it wasn't like that's the craziest thing Malice is doing. The craziest thing Malice is doing is using their Malice cards, not Nightmare Griffin. So to see this card go, it's fine. If anyone was playing it, they were playing it in some bullshit wombo combo touch yourself deck that nobody really cares to see gone, and otherwise it's just kind of like a community compensation hit of, yep, we've heard you complaining about it, we'll give you this one too. Not a tragic loss. Nobody is going to care about this. What some people are going to care about is the limit of Link Decoder, a card who I found out you need to include the word Yu-Gi-Oh behind when searching on Google, because a Link Decoder is an actual thing, not just a Yu-Gi-Oh card. That was news to me, because the world doesn't exist outside of Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, this card going to none is very nice. It stops some generic Link climbing freedom shenanigans from Cybers and particularly Malice. I think I'm fine seeing it gone to hinder Malice while still letting you play Malice to validate the purchases of those cards from crossover breakers. And then the only other bans that happened are technically both to Mermail, but are also just one to Mermail and one for Mermail, broadly speaking. Bahamut's shark gets taken up behind the shed and shot in the back of the head. Truly tragic. I think Toad was the way to go. I think you're hitting Toad or Bahamut, but Toad's the generic take your card Omni negate, and Bahamut's just like, well, you get a free Toad, but if you take away Toad, what are you getting? Like Virtue Dragon? Like fucking Redditor Dragon? That's gonna be fine. They can search an Icarus attack, they can do some quirky shit. Sharks can play Bahamut. I think Toad was the one to go, if we're being honest. Also, as a Mermail player, I kind of liked having a rank 4 Xyz to get the Dragoon effect off on the first. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little biased, but overall I do think Toad to none would have been the more appropriate hit. Doesn't fucking matter, because that's the one that they've chosen to ban. So if you bought the quarter century secret rare copy of it, you're an idiot. And yes, I am talking to myself in regards to this right now, but that is Mermail's big hit, which takes away Toad from their end board, which is a pretty good hit to Mermail, all things considered. Still not devastated. They still have Molten Glacia that maybe should have been banned as well. But no, this is what the K-Man has given us. This is what we've got. And then the last thing is Dweller, which is a very interesting hit because it's kind of an absurdly strong card and is good to see hit. Shutting off one player's graveyard is absurdly strong and kind of very valid to see removed from the game. The question is, does this in response enable some other bullshit to continue? Mermail's biggest check has now been removed, so even though the Toads are gone, they can maybe more reliably get access to Molten Glacia and that bullshit. Or similarly, maybe Fire King can be stronger now, because there's less things to stop the graveyard effects. I think this is a good hit overall for the game. I also think this is going to have some consequences we don't entirely like, but maybe that's a bit too nuanced, because we're doing a Max Headroom, and we don't got room for anything but bullshit. You can tell me I'm not reading the comments. I will, though. Actually, I will. Anyways, all in all, it's a pretty good list because they didn't touch Blue Eyes, which means the continuing conspiracy of Blue Eyes winning Worlds is that much closer to true, baby. The combined ban list is everything. That being said, there's slaps on the wrist to Malice and Ryziel. They're still going to be the best decks, but they're no longer as good as they were. Marginally worse means a marginal improvement. This format has been met with mostly except like good, like fine, certainly better than Snake Eye if nothing else. So to see it marginally improved is a good thing in some capacity. There are nitpicks you can get, like why didn't you ban Shifter outright, or quit pitting Mermail, that's my favorite deck, I just want to keep playing my bullshit. But outside of those little itty bitty nitpicks, this is one that's been met with praise. Now, if we give it enough time, Yugi Twitter and the Redditors of this earth will tell us that this was a dog shit list in a few months, after they tell us that they alone had deduced through their superior intellect that it was not enough and therefore it was bad. But I think for right now, it is good. Will it need change in the future? Yeah. But this is probably our format up until World Championship qualifiers and Worlds. I don't see us getting a ban list again before, July. That's my prediction. That's where I think we're going to be at, where Malice and Ryzeal are a little tiny bit more susceptible to hand traps, but still inarguably the decks to be playing. There's also the lack of Fiendsmith hits, probably because they're printing Fiendsmith cards in Stampede being released in like a week's time. But other than that, pretty good, all things considered. Now you can break your bank paying for Tract instead of Engraver. All that changes stays the same, doesn't it? Either way, there's something to be said about the actual use of the semi-limitless now. It's very interesting to see. People have said that it's not quite as good here in the TCG because it's used to much more better used effect in the Master Duel formats because they get ban lists monthly. So it's kind of like your warning that we'll hit it a bit, and then we'll kill it later. But for this, it's like, well, we'll hit it a bit, and then we'll wait 7 months, and then we'll hit it a bit, and then you'll be sick of the deck, and then we'll kill it, but only after you can buy the new card. Just some bullshit like that. Guarantee you someone's gonna complain. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! And the internet. That's a fucking concoction and a half for some bullshit whining. But overall, I think it's good. As to which deck one of the two, Ryzeal and Malice, the fact that I've seen people saying both decks lost more probably means they did a good job. The fact that Malice is like, we did worse, and Ryzeal's like, nope, it's us, probably means they did pretty well. There is, however, the fact that Alliance Insight is going to be giving the Attic Mister support that Malice can't abuse, which means I think in the long term, by that I mean a month, Malice is probably going to come out on top, although I do think Ryzeal with Fiendsmith is still going to be a very good deck. So, all in all, I'm not hating it. And shit, looks like we're out of time for the Max Headroom bit. That's the thing. Time sensitive, here at, minute number 14 or whatever's going on. So look, don't let him know, okay? Going back to the same old boring guy, same old boring format bullshit. I tried, okay? At least I tried. And let's be honest, if we really want to talk about how you want to see your cards getting played, Toad takes them and puts them on my field, and I just play them for you. It's just fun. I think everyone loves it. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I didn't even talk a single thing about the ban list, but it's okay. I think we can all agree now, Mermail did nothing wrong. So that wraps it up for this video. Thanks as always for watching. I've been your host, Craig Fee, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to YGO Strats, as one day see ya. It's a rocket radar. It means I can fight the boss of Team Rocket. I know, it's exciting.